You know they say in Nigeria, every day for the thief, one day for the owner. This man is about to get caught for all the crime he has been committed after 40 years with the help of just a chewing gum. This man's name is Gaff. Gaff lived in a very small city called Everest in Washington State in America. Now the story started in 1980 when Gaff broke into a house of a young lady named Susan Versey. Susan Versey was just 21 years old. In fact, she was celebrating her birthday that particular day in the presence of her two kids who were 3 years old and the other one was like a few months old. This lady was celebrating her birthday, supposed to be happy and making merry, but that particular day of merriment turned into a day of tragedy for her. Gaff broke into this house and not only grabbed this woman, but in the presence of the two children, he unalived this lady. The police came as usual, started to write investigation report and everything, tried to investigate the matter. But they investigated and investigated some more, but nothing happened. They could not find evidence to link to the person who had committed that crime. Fast forward to 1984, 4 years after this man did that thing to that 21 years old lady, he also went ahead, he broke into a home of a 42 years old lady named Weaver. Now Weaver also have two children. And this guy went there, not only just grabbed this woman, he also unalived this woman in the presence of the two children. And after doing that, he set the house ablaze. He did that because he wanted to cover his track. He don't want anybody to trace the crime to him. As usual, firefighters came to put out the fire and the police started to investigate the matter. But they investigated some more, dug into the issue some more, but all to no avail. Nobody was able to find the culprit who is responsible for that particular crime. So in 2022, this particular detective took up the case of those two murders that this guy committed. By this time, nobody knew he was the one that committed it. So he was just living a life, a normal life like everyone else. Until this lady, Detective Susan, took up the case. Detective Susan is not just an ordinary detective. She has eye for details and she was very dedicated to her job. In fact, all the years of mysteries of those two murders is about to be brought to the open by this lady, Detective Susan. Do you know that in January 2024, Detective Susan and two other of our colleagues, one day, they just dressed on a plain t-shirt, printed a fake flyer and pretended to be working for a chewing gum company. They had a bunch of chewing gum with them and they went to the neighborhood of Gaff. Now when they got to the neighborhood, they knocked at Gaff's house and Gaff opened up the door for them. And when he opened up, they told Gaff, oh, we are just from a chewing gum company. We are just going around and asking people to participate in a chewing gum flavor survey. Do you mind participating in this survey? Of course, the chewing gums are free. Gaff said, oh, come on, of course, I'm ready. I will help you taste the chewing gum and give you the survey and give you the review you are looking for. So he opened the door for them. He welcomed them into his house and then they began to give him the chewing gum one after the other. After chewing and tasting the flavor of one, he will spit it in a cup and give it to them. He doesn't know that that particular moment of tasting that chewing gum was going to be the defining moment and exposure for him for all the crime that he had been committed for over 40 years and getting away with it. After that survey, they thanked Michelle and they left, and then they sent those samples of those chewing gum to the lab for analysis. And my people, the DNA that was in that chewing gum exactly matches with the DNA that they collected from the crime scene in 1984, where Michelle Gaff unalived Weaver, Mrs. Weaver, who was just 42 years old at that time. Because of that, they went ahead to arrest Mr. Gaff immediately. When the husband of that first lady that he unalived in 1980 heard about the matter, he was very furious and angry and called the police station. I have nobody been able to link this man to the same crime this man committed against my family, against my wife. And then he began to describe the scene of how the whole thing played out to Detective Susan. And when Detective Susan heard about the whole thing, he saw the same pattern, the same method, and the same way this guy was doing the whole thing. He went ahead to compare the DNA samples that was collected from that crime scene, and then he matched up with this particular DNA from the chewing gum. And guess what? It matched as well. On the 13th of May, 2026, this month exactly, Mr. Gaff stood before the court and pleaded guilty that he committed those two crimes. So for 40 years, he was scot-free with no repercussion for the murder of those two women. And in 2026, he was pleading guilty for the things he had done in the past for the murder of those two women. and he was sentenced to 50 years in prison. And by this time, take note, he is now 68 years old, so he's old. Now imagine them adding 50 years. That's like death sentence disguising in number.
Another story.